While I was researching Tudor ballads for my doctorate, I came across William Elderton's A Proper New Ballad in Praise of My Lady Marquis. Now, two things immediately grabbed my attention. The first was that the song had a tune, and what's more, it was a tune that I knew. The second was that despite praising the Lady Marquis's exemplary feminine virtues of piety and charity at great length, never once did Elderton see fit to tell us her name. My first job, then, was to identify the Lady Marquis. She turned out to be the Marchioness of Northampton, Elizabeth Parr. Parr was a Protestant and sister-in-law to Henry VIII's final queen, Catherine Parr, who herself nearly fell victim to a plot against her because she owned heretical Protestant books during Henry's reign. But the questions just kept coming. Why didn't Elizabeth Parr's name matter? Did that anonymity fit with the perfect example that she set to others in Elderton's ballad? Why did Elderton describe how he made memory for her soul with weeping eyes once every day? After all, it was Catholics who believed that intercessory prayers for the dead could help to speed the deceased soul on its journey to heaven. Protestants believed that this sort of memorialisation was superstitious. It wasn't just nonsense and mumbo-jumbo. It could actually condemn a person's soul to hell. Why did Elderton describe seeing a vision of her ghost, when the Protestant Reformation had done away with purgatory, and therefore, according to scholars, there was no purgatory from which a ghost could return? Elderton's ballad led me to look at other verse epitaphs written during the middle years of the 16th century, especially those written for women such as Queen Mary I, Margaret Stanley, the Countess of Derby, Dame Helen Branch and Lady Avenon, who was the wife of London's Lord Mayor. Comparing these epitaphs from both sides of the religious divide brought home to me some of the work that has been carried out by scholars such as Ralph Holbrook and Peter Marshall concerning death and memorialisation in 16th century England. Holbrook's work suggested that the Protestant Church failed to replace old, comforting funerary customs of Catholicism with new ones that fulfilled the needs of grieving friends and relatives. Marshall, on the other hand, described how the Reformation brought about what he termed a cultural transformation in the understanding of death and the dead. Now, this in turn led me to Scott Newstock's book, Quoting Death in Early Modern England, which effectively demonstrated how a country which had turned its back on Catholic commemorative rituals became almost obsessed with memorialising the dead. Now, it's these themes that I address in my article, Verse Epitaphs and the Memorialisation of Women, for Literary Compass. It looks at several epitaphs to examine their attitudes to ideals of feminine virtue, ghost beliefs, and what we might term the place of the dead. That is, not just the actual location of the body and soul after death, but also appropriate ways to commemorate the deceased when iconoclasm had destroyed many physical memorials. I hope that it will help both literary scholars and historians to understand the ways in which religious change was reflected in popular literature.